By mid-morning the Red Keep was no longer a castle so much as a horn, and every corridor was its echo. Bells tolled from the Great September and answered from lesser septs, a rolling call that drew men into the streets whether they wished to come or not. Word had gone out. Quietly at first, then louder, then as loud as anything ever became in King's Landing, that the king lived, that the boar had not taken him, that the realm still had a stag upon the throne. And with that rumor came the one that crawled behind it like a shadow, that the queen was dead. Ned watched the yard fill as if a tide had risen and found cracks in the walls. Tradesmen in stained aprons, washerwomen with red hands, boys with half-shaved heads, old men leaning on sticks, all pressed between gold cloaks and stone. They did not speak much. They murmured to one another, eyes darting, mouths tight. King's Landing was a city that loved spectacle, but it loved certainty more. Today it had neither. Robert insisted on being seen. No argument, no gentle plea from Pycelle, no warning from Barristan about strain or infection could bend him. He came out wrapped in black velvet and stubbornness. His belly bound so tight it seemed his breath had to fight to escape. He leaned one hand on the balcony stone and the other on the haft of his warhammer, as if the weapon itself were the pillar holding him upright. Barristan stood at his side like a vow made flesh, bright in white despite the soot-stained morning. Renly looked too young for his green cloak, too pale for his easy smile. Ned held the sealed proclamation, its wax still warm from the press of the royal signet. The parchment felt heavier than any sword he had ever carried. Below, the crowd roiled when Robert stepped into view. A shout went up, half relief, half disbelief. And then the yard fell into a hush so complete Ned could hear the banners snapping on the wind. Robert's voice was hoarse, but it still carried. "People of King's Landing," he called, and when he said it the words sounded almost strange in his mouth, as if he had forgotten the people existed. "You look upon your king." A murmur, then scattered cheers, then uneasy silence again. A child began to cry and was hushed. Robert lifted the hammer a few inches, not as threat, but as proof he could. "I was wounded," he went on, "but I am not dead, and while I live, I will not be mocked in my own hall." His eyes swept the yard, hard and bright. "Lord Eddard Stark will read my decree." Ned stepped forward, the wind tugging at his cloak, and broke the seal. The red wax cracked like a small bone. "In the name of Robert of House Baratheon, first of his name," Ned read, his voice steady though his stomach churned, "King of the Undulls and the Rhoynar and the First Men, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm." He saw faces tighten at the formality. The small folk loved titles until titles became judgments. "It is proclaimed that Cersei of House Lannister has been found guilty of treason against the Iron Throne, and has received sentence for her crimes." Ned did not say how. He did not offer the yard the sight of blood. The city could imagine it well enough. A wave of sound rose. Gasps, cries, a woman's wail, a man's barked laugh cut short by a neighbor's elbow. Somewhere someone shouted, "Lions!" like a curse. Ned continued, forcing the words into the air as if nailing them to the sky. "It is further proclaimed that Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen are not of the king's blood, and shall not inherit the Iron Throne. They are to remain under the king's protection and custody until the realm's peace is secured." Renly's breath hitched at that. Barristan did not move. Robert's jaw clenched, as if each mercy cost him another ounce of pride. Ned read on, of pardons offered to those who laid down arms, of rewards for those who revealed conspirators, of a promise that the king would punish treason wherever it hid, even in gilded halls. When he finished, he rolled the parchment with hands that wanted to shake and did not allow them. Robert stepped forward again, eyes blazing. "Let any man who calls me liar come and say it to my face," he roared. "Let Tywin Lannister come, if he has the stomach." The yard erupted then, not in unity, but in division. Some cheered, drunk on the thrill of a mighty name challenged. Some spat, fearful of what it would bring. Some simply stared up at Robert as if watching a bear rise from a pit and wondering who it would maul first. Ned looked down into the sea of faces and saw what frightened him most. Not anger, not grief, not even hatred. He saw hunger. Hunger for chaos, for vengeance, for the next thing to happen. King's Landing did not need reasons to burn. It only needed a spark. And Robert Baratheon, wounded and furious, was a spark carried on the wind. The children heard the bells as if the bells were coming for them. Joffrey raged from the moment the first clang rolled over the keep. He had demanded his mother, demanded his father, demanded his sword. When none came, he demanded blood, because that was the language he had learned best. He struck the door with his fists until his knuckles reddened, then kicked it with the heel of his boot as if wood could be bullied into obedience. "Open it," he screamed. "I am the prince. I am the king's son. Open it." The gold cloaks outside did not answer. They stood awkwardly, spears held like strangers' tools, eyes fixed straight ahead as if looking at the boy would somehow involve them. They were men used to taking orders from whoever paid them last. Today they were being asked to ignore royal fury, and it made them sweat. Sandor Clegane leaned against the wall near the door, arms folded, helmet tucked beneath one arm. His scarred face looked carved from old anger. He watched Joffrey with a weary contempt that the boy was too furious to notice. Joffrey spun on him. "Hound!" he shouted. "Make them open it. That's an order." Sandor's eyes lifted, dull as river stones. "Orders," he said, voice rough. "Plenty of those today." Joffrey's face flushed. "You swore to protect me." Sandor's mouth twisted. "I swore to protect you from blades," he replied. "Not from doors." Joffrey lunged toward him, as if to strike him, and Sandor's hand shot out. It was not gentle. He caught Joffrey by the wrist and held him easily, as a man might hold a struggling bird. Joffrey jerked and snarled, his breath hot with helplessness. "Let go," he hissed. Sandor leaned in until his burned face was inches from the boy's. "If you hit me," he growled softly, "you'll regret it. And if you keep screaming, someone else will regret it for you." Joffrey stared, hatred and fear battling across his features. Then he yanked his wrist back, shaking with rage. In the window seat, Myrcella wept silently into her hands. Her hair had been hastily braided by a trembling handmaid, and the braid was already coming loose. Every so often she looked toward the door with wide eyes, as if expecting Cersei to sweep in and make the world right by sheer force of will. When the door did not open, her face crumpled again. Tommen sat on the floor beside her, small and pale, clutching a carved wooden lion so tightly his fingers whitened. He did not understand words like treason or legitimacy, but he understood tone. He understood that the keep had changed. He understood that the adults who had always seemed invincible were suddenly afraid. Joffrey whirled again, voice cracking. "Where is my mother?" he screamed. "Where is she?" The handmaid in the corner made a small sound and clapped a hand over her mouth, as if she had almost spoken and realized it could kill her. Myrcella looked up, eyes reddened. Tommen's lower lip trembled. Sandor exhaled through his nose, long and slow. "She's gone," he said at last. Joffrey froze. "Gone where?" he demanded. Sandor's gaze slid away, toward the stone, toward anywhere but the boy's face. "Gone," he repeated, and let the word do its own brutal work. For a heartbeat, the room was silent except for the bells outside and Myrcella's muffled sobs. Then Joffrey's face twisted, not with grief, but with fury so pure it seemed to make him brighter. "You're lying," he spat. "You're all lying. My father will kill you. He will." A key turned in the lock, and the door opened just a crack. Ned Stark stepped in, flanked by 2 Stark guards. His face was drawn, his eyes tired, as if he had aged years since dawn. Joffrey lunged toward him. "You?" he hissed. "This is your doing. I want you dead." Ned did not flinch. "You will hold your tongue," he said, voice quiet and terrible, "or you will learn what it costs." Joffrey's eyes widened. No one spoke to him like that, not since his mother, and not even she, not in public. Ned's gaze moved to Myrcella, then to Tommen. His voice softened, just a fraction. "You will be kept safe," he told them. "No one will harm you." Joffrey laughed, brittle. "Safe?" he spat. "From what? From my father? He's my father. He wouldn't." Ned looked at him, and there was no pity in it. "The king is not your father," Ned said. The words hit like a slap. Joffrey's face went white, then purple with rage. "Liar," he whispered, but the word lacked its former certainty. Ned did not argue. He had no need. The keep itself was arguing on his behalf with locked doors and silent guards and bells that tolled like judgment. Outside, King's Landing roared a little louder, as if the city had begun to taste the blood in the air. The black cells smelled of damp stone and old misery. They were a place where the Red Keep buried men it did not wish to remember. A place below the world, below light, below mercy. Ned had never been there before. He found the descent unpleasantly familiar, like walking down into a crypt. Jaime Lannister sat on the floor of his cell with chains on his wrists, the iron biting into skin that had never known such indignity. His torn white cloak lay in a corner like a dead bird. He did not look up when Ned approached. His head was bowed, hair falling into his eyes, and for a moment he seemed smaller, just a man in the dark. Then the torchlight shifted, and Jaime's eyes lifted. The grief in them had hardened into something sharper. "You," Jaime said softly. Ned gripped the torch, the flame snapping. Barristan Selmy stood behind him, silent. The old knight had insisted on coming, and Ned had not argued. It felt safer to have honor at his shoulder, even if honor was fragile in a place like this. "The king wanted you alive," Ned said. Jaime's mouth twisted. "How gracious." Ned did not respond to the mockery. He had come because he needed to understand the shape of the danger. Jaime was not merely a prisoner. He was a match in a room full of oil. "You threatened the king," Ned said. Jaime's laugh was low, ugly. "Threatened?" he repeated. "I merely reminded him of history. King Steve. Even kings who think themselves gods." Ned's eyes narrowed. "You killed Aerys Targaryen." Jaime's gaze sharpened. "Yes," he said, and there was a fierce pride in the word, as if he were clinging to the one deed that made him more than a golden ornament. "I killed a madman and they called me Kingslayer. Now your friend kills my sister and they call him Justice." Ned felt anger flare. "Your sister committed treason." Jaime's eyes blazed. "Your friend committed murder," he snapped. "And you stood there and watched. Don't pretend your hands are clean, Stark. They're just clean because you hide them in snow." Ned's jaw tightened. "I tried to stop it." Jaime stared at him, and the hatred in his eyes shifted into something like contempt. "Did you?" he asked softly. "Or did you simply want him to be kingly as he butchered her?" Ned held his gaze. He would not be baited. "Tywin will come," Ned said. Jaime's smile returned, thin and sharp. "Yes," he murmured. "He will." "You will write to him," Ned said, and the words tasted bitter. "You will command him to stand down. You will tell him the children live. You will tell him." Jaime's laugh cut him off. "You think my father takes commands from me?" he asked. "You think he will sheath his sword because I ask nicely from a hole in the ground?" Ned's stomach tightened. "He might if it saves your life." Jaime's eyes went hard. "My life?" he echoed. "Do you think I care about my life now?" Barristan spoke then, his voice quiet. "Care," he said, "or not, but your father cares about the name Lannister. You can help prevent the realm from bleeding." Jaime looked past Ned to Barristan, and for a heartbeat something flickered in him. Respect, perhaps, for the only man in the room whose honor could not be questioned. "You served her too," Jaime said softly. "You stood guard while we—" His throat worked. The grief tried to surface again. He crushed it. "Tell me, Ser Barristan," he hissed. "Did you feel proud when the king's sword took her head?" Barristan's face tightened, pain crossing it like a shadow. "I felt no pride," he said. "I felt duty and sorrow." Jaime's mouth curled. "Sorrow," he spat, "then act like it." Ned leaned closer to the bars. If Tywin comes with an army, Robert will answer with one, Ned said. Men will die who had no part in this. The Riverlands will burn. The Reach will choose sides. The realm is brittle. It will shatter. Jaime's eyes narrowed, the strategist in him awakening beneath grief. Then let it shatter, he whispered. Let your honorable realm drown in blood. Maybe then you'll see what your friend truly is. Ned's voice dropped. What Robert is, he said, is king, and what you are is a man in chains. If you want the children to live, you will help me. At the mention of the children, Jaime's face changed. The hatred faltered, and something raw slipped through. My children, he said, voice rough. They are alive, Ned said. For now. That mercy will not last if war comes to the gates. Jaime closed his eyes for a moment, as if fighting against himself. When he opened them again, the grief was still there, but it had been forced behind walls. Give me quill and parchment, Jaime said at last. Ned exhaled, slow. You will write. Jaime's gaze snapped to him. I will write what I wish, he said, voice like steel. And you will pray it's enough. Ned did not like the bargain, but he took it. In King's Landing, you took what you could and hoped it did not cut you later. The small council chamber felt smaller with death in the air. Robert would not sit the Iron Throne again that day. The wound had begun to throb in earnest, and even his stubbornness could not keep pain from claiming its due. He slumped in the high chair at the head of the table, face slick with sweat, jaw clenched, as if admitting weakness would invite it to devour him. A cup of watered wine sat untouched at his elbow. Ned stood over a map of Westeros spread across the table, weighing stones in his hand as if they were lives. He placed one at Casterly Rock, one at Riverrun, one at King's Landing. The Riverlands lay between like soft flesh. Renly paced, unable to keep still. We must secure allies, he said, voice quick. The Lannisters have gold and men. If Tywin rides, he rides hard. We need the Reach. Robert's eyes narrowed. The Reach, he rasped. Tyrells. Renly nodded eagerly. Mace Tyrell will follow whoever makes him feel important. Offer him a marriage. Ned's gaze snapped up. A marriage? He repeated. Renly's smile flashed, strained. A new queen, he said simply, as if replacing one woman with another were as easy as changing a cloak. The realm loves weddings. It forgives much in silk and song. Robert's mouth curled. Another wife, he muttered, and there was bitterness in it, a taste of old disappointment. Another bed. It would bind the Reach to us, Renly insisted. It would bring grain, knights, ships. It would make Tywin think twice. Tywin does not think twice, Ned said. He thinks once and men die. Peter Baelish chuckled softly. Still, he murmured, fingers idly tapping his ledger. Dead men do not pay their debts. A bit of Reach gold, Reach grain would be soothing. Robert's gaze cut to him. You enjoy this, Robert growled. Peter's smile did not falter. Enjoy? He echoed. No, sire. I merely appreciate clarity. When the powerful move openly, even a humble servant knows where to stand. Robert's hand twitched toward his hammer, which rested against his chair like a loyal hound. Be careful, he warned. Varys spoke softly, cutting between them before the spark could catch. Sire, he said, there is also Dragonstone. Robert's eyes hardened. Stannis, he said, and the name carried old resentment. Stannis Baratheon is the lawful heir, Ned said, and he said it plainly because it had to be said. Now more than ever, the realm must see the line clear. Renly stopped pacing. His face tightened. Lawful, he repeated, and the word sounded sour on his tongue. Robert's gaze flicked between his brothers' names like a man staring at two doors, neither of which he wanted to open. Stannis will come like a crow to a corpse, Robert muttered. He'll say he warned me. He'll demand I name him heir in front of every lord. He will demand the realm be ruled properly, Ned said. Robert barked a laugh that turned into a grimace. Properly, he spat. As if the realm is a ledger to be balanced. Pycelle made a small sound, and a gold cloak shoved him back into his chair. The maester's face was ashen. He had been stripped of dignity, and he clung to his chain as if it could still matter. Ned placed another stone on the map, Dragonstone. "We send for him," Ned said, "not as a request, but as command. He must come and stand beside you. It will show unity." Renly's eyes flashed. "And if he comes and starts barking about your honor and his rights?" he demanded. "He'll push Robert into a corner. He'll make enemies where we need friends." "We already have enemies," Ned said. "We cannot afford to become enemies to ourselves." Robert stared at the map as if it were an enemy in its own right. Then he slammed his fist on the table, making the stones jump. "Fine," he growled. "Send for Stannis. Send for every lord who dares breathe. I'll have them all here. Let them look at me and decide if they'd rather follow a lion." Varys's eyes gleamed faintly. "And the children?" he asked softly. Robert's jaw tightened. "Kept," he said. "Guarded. Federal. No one touches them." Renly exhaled. Relief and frustration tangled. Peter smiled faintly. Pycelle looked as if he might faint. Ned felt the map beneath his hands like a living thing, fragile and stretched. They were moving pieces, yes, but each piece was a man with a blade, a farmer with a torch, a child with a hunger. The board would bleed. "Ravens," Robert ordered. "To Dragonstone, to Winterfell, to Riverrun, to the Eyrie if the Lisa woman can still read, and to Casterly Rock." His eyes narrowed. "Tywin will receive my words." Ned held Robert's gaze. "And if Tywin answers with war?" Robert's smile was grim and bright. "Then we'll have war," he said. "At least war is honest." Dragonstone tasted of salt and old smoke. Stannis Baratheon read the raven's message beneath carved stone dragons that leered down from the hall's gloom. The paper crackled in his clenched fist, not from wind, but from the pressure of his anger held too tightly. Davos Seaworth stood behind him, hands clasped, eyes worried. He had seen storms that swallowed fleets, and he still looked more afraid of this than any black wave. Melisandre watched from near a brazier, red silk pooling around her like spilled wine. The firelight made her eyes gleam. When she breathed, the air seemed to lean toward her. Stannis's mouth tightened as he read the final lines. "The queen dead. The children declared false." Tywin challenged, and at the bottom the command, "Come to King's Landing. Stand beside your brother. Be seen." For a moment Stannis said nothing. Then he lifted his eyes, and his gaze was as hard as the stone beneath his feet. "He has finally done it," Stannis said. Davos swallowed. "Done what, M-Lord?" Stannis's jaw flexed. "Proven himself unfit," he said coldly. "He has executed the queen in the night like a butcher in an alley, then proclaimed himself righteous." Davos hesitated. "If the queen truly, if," Stannis snapped, and the word was a lash. "Truth matters. Law matters. Not a wounded man's wrath. The realm is not a tavern brawl." Melisandre's voice slid into the hall like smoke. "The flames have spoken of a stag wounded and roaring," she murmured. "A stag who spills blood to wake the world." Stannis did not look at her. He stared at the raven's parchment as if it were an insult delivered in ink. "He commands me to come," he said. Davos shifted, cautious. "He is still the king," he said quietly. "And he is your brother." Stannis's laugh was humorless. "Brother," he repeated. He never remembered that when he gave Storm's End to Renly. He never remembered that when he ignored my counsel. Now he remembers because he needs me to hold up his throne while he bleeds. Melisandre stepped closer, the heat of the brazier following her. "He fears what comes," she said softly. "The lion in the west, the darkness beyond the wall, the dragon across the sea. He moves because he is afraid." Stannis's eyes narrowed. "Fear does not excuse lawlessness. It reveals it," Melisandre said, and her smile was faint. Men show their true selves when the night is deep. Stannis crumpled the parchment in his fist until the wax seal cracked. Then, with an effort visible in the tension of his shoulders, he smoothed it again. Control was his armor. He would not let anger rule him the way it ruled Robert. "We sail," Stannis said at last. Davos blinked. "To King's Landing?" "To King's Landing," Stannis confirmed. "If Robert wishes the realm to see unity, he will have it. But he will also hear what I have to say." Melisandre's eyes glittered. "And if he will not listen?" Stannis's gaze fixed on the stone dragons, on their open mouths, their carved teeth. "Then the realm will need a king who will," he said. Davos's throat worked. He knew what that meant. He knew the weight of it. "And the children?" he asked quietly. Stannis's face did not soften. "They are not his," he said. "They are not mine. They are a problem Robert has created with his lust and his negligence. If he keeps them alive, he keeps a spark near kindling." Melisandre's voice was soft as a prayer. "Sparks can become cleansing fire." Stannis's eyes flicked to her at last, sharp with warning. "Not in my hall," he said. Melisandre bowed her head, obedient in gesture if not in spirit. Outside, the sea battered the rocks below Dragonstone, relentless. Stannis listened to it for a heartbeat, then turned away. "Ready the ships," he commanded, "and send word ahead. The king will not wait long, and neither will Tywin Lannister." Davos bowed, heart heavy, and hurried to obey, while Melisandre watched the brazier flames dance as if they were whispering secrets only she could hear. Casterly Rock did not feel grief the way men did. Its halls were too old, its stones too heavy. They had watched kings rise and fall, watched the sea grind the shore into sand, watched Lannisters come and go like generations of lions in a single den. If the rock mourned, it did so in silence that outlasted tears. Tywin Lannister read the Raven's message in his solar as if it were a list of prices. The scroll lay unfurled on the table, and his hands rested on either side of it, steady. Kevan stood close, face tight, while Maester Crelin waited near the door with ink-stained fingers and eyes that dared not meet Tywin's for long. When Tywin reached the line that named Cersei dead, his face did not change. Not a flinch, not a tightening of the mouth, not a widening of the eyes. Only his gaze sharpened, minutely, like a blade being honed. He read the rest: Jaime chained, the children declared false, Robert's challenge, Ned Stark's proclamation of protection. When he finished, he set the scroll down with the same care he might use to place a cup on a table. Kevan's voice came low. "Cersei," he said, as if speaking the name could make it real. Tywin's eyes remained on the parchment. "Yes," he said. Kevan's throat worked. "And Jaime," Tywin's gaze lifted. "Is alive," he said. "That matters." Kevan exhaled, relief tangled with fear. "He will want vengeance," Kevan said. "Robert is wounded. The city is restless. If we move quickly." Tywin raised a hand, and Kevan fell silent. The gesture was small, but it carried decades of authority. "We do not move quickly," Tywin said. "We move correctly." Kevan's jaw tightened. "Correctly," he echoed. Tywin's voice was calm. "Robert Baratheon has executed a queen without trial witnessed by the realm's great lords," he said. "He has declared royal children illegitimate in a single morning. He has invited war and called it justice. The question is not whether we answer. The question is how we answer, so the realm blames him for the blood that follows." Maester Crelin swallowed. "My lord," he began. "There are laws." Tywin's gaze slid to him. It was not anger. It was colder than anger. "Do not speak to me of laws," Tywin said. "Laws are what men call power when they wish it to sound respectable." Crelin bowed his head and said no more. Kevan leaned closer to the table, eyes hard. "The children," he said quietly, "if Robert keeps them." Tywin's fingers tapped once against the wood. "He will keep them until it suits him not to," he said. "And if he dies, Stark will keep them, or Stannis, or some other fool who believes mercy is strength. They will become banners for anyone who wishes to hurt House Baratheon. Kevin's face tightened. Then we should take them, he said. Tywin's gaze remained steady. We will, he said, but not by running headfirst into the Red Keep like brigands. We will starve the city if we must. We will turn lords against Robert. We will make his allies hesitate. And when the gates open, they will open because the realm demanded it. Kevin's mouth twisted. And Cersei? He asked, unable to keep the grief from his voice. For the first time, something like steel sorrow flickered in Tywin's eyes, brief and contained. Cersei chose her path, he said. Robert chose his. Now I choose mine. He turned to the window slit, where the sea beyond Casterly Rock shone gray under winter light. Send ravens, Tywin ordered, to the Westerlands. Call the banners. Send Ser Gregor Clegane into the Riverlands. Quietly, let the small folk scream first. Lords listen when peasants burn. Kevin's face tightened, but he nodded. As you command. Tywin's gaze returned to the parchment. And send a message to King's Landing, he said. Not a plea, not a threat, a statement. Tell Robert Baratheon that he has murdered a queen, imprisoned a Kingsguard, and stolen children who bear the name Lannister whether he likes it or not. Kevin hesitated. What should the message say? Tywin's mouth did not smile, but something in his eyes sharpened. It should say, he replied, that lions do not forget the taste of blood. The first flames rose in the Riverlands before King's Landing had finished arguing about what it had witnessed. It began the way such things always began, with riders on the horizon and the wrong kind of silence in the air. A small village near the Red Fork saw them first, dark specks growing larger against pale fields. Men paused in doorways, hands shading eyes. Children stopped chasing one another. Dogs began to bark, uneasy. Then the riders arrived, and there was no mistaking what they were. Lannister colors, red cloth snapping in the wind, steel glinting beneath. At their head rode a man so large he seemed built for slaughter rather than life. Ser Gregor Clegane's helm turned slowly as he entered the village, as if he were studying a pen of animals and deciding which to kill first. A village elder stepped forward, shaking, hands raised. Sirs, he called, voice thin, we're loyal folk. We pay our tithes. We, a Lannister man-at-arms, rode him down without slowing. The elder fell like a sack, and the horse's hooves left him behind, broken and small. Screams erupted. Women grabbed children. Men reached for pitchforks and hunting knives, pitiful weapons against mail and swords. Someone tried to run for the woods. An arrow took him in the back, and he fell face first into mud. Ser Gregor did not speak. He did not need to. His men poured into the village like water into cracks, torches lifted, blades drawn. Thatch caught quickly, flames licking upward, smoke boiling into the cold air. A woman's scream cut sharp, then cut off. A child cried until someone slapped a hand over the child's mouth and hauled them toward the river. A man with a pitchfork lunged at a Lannister rider. The rider laughed and drove a sword through his belly. The man crumpled, eyes wide, pitchfork clattering onto the stones. Ser Gregor dismounted near the village's small sept. He stood for a moment, a black tower amid smoke and panic, and looked at the seven-pointed star carved above the door. Then he raised his sword and hacked at the wooden beam holding the door shut. Would split. The door burst inward. Two septons inside scrambled back, eyes wide with terror. Please, one of them croaked. In the name of the seven. Ser Gregor's sword took the septon's head off with a single brutal swing. The second septon fell to his knees, sobbing, hands lifted. Ser Gregor's men dragged him out and threw him into the street like refuse. A Lannister captain rode up, face flushed with smoke and excitement. Ser Gregor, he shouted. Orders from Lord Tywin. Leave survivors. Let them carry the tale. Ser Gregor's helm turned slowly toward him. For a heartbeat, the captain looked as if he might be afraid of the man he was giving orders to. Then Ser Gregor gave a single nod, an acknowledgement, not obedience. He grabbed the surviving Septon by the hair and hauled him close, holding him up so the man's feet kicked uselessly in the air. The Septon's eyes rolled, pleading. Ser Gregor leaned in, as if to whisper. Instead, he threw the Septon into the burning sept and shut the door behind him. The captain stared, swallowed, and said nothing. By the time the riders left, the village was a smoking ruin, bodies scattered like broken dolls, the air thick with ash. Those who lived did not look like victors. They looked like ghosts. They stumbled through the aftermath with eyes too wide, mouths too dry, clutching children and scraps of life, and they carried one truth with them as they fled toward Riverrun. The lions had answered. Renly Baratheon did not wait for war to arrive. He ran to meet it, smiling. He found Loras Tyrell in a chamber tucked away from the busiest corridors, a room that smelled faintly of roses and steel. Loras stood near the window slit, armor polished so bright it caught what little light the day offered. He looked too beautiful for the ugliness creeping through the realm, and perhaps that was why men looked at him and believed in songs. Renly closed the door behind them and leaned against it as if holding back the world. "It's begun," Renly said. Loras's eyes sharpened. "I heard the bells," he said. "I heard the shouting. Tell me true." Renly's smile faltered. "Cersei is dead," he said. Loras's mouth parted slightly. For all his youth, he understood what that meant. "Robert killed her?" Renly nodded. "In the night," he said, voice tight, "before the city could blink." Loras exhaled slowly. "And Tywin?" Renly's eyes flashed. "Will come," he said. "And when he does, we need the Reach beside us. Not watching, not waiting, beside." Loras studied him. "You want my father," he said. "You want Mace Tyrell's banners." Renly stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I want your sister," he said. Loras blinked. "Marjorie." Renly gestured toward the table, where a small painted portrait lay. Marjorie Tyrell with her dark hair and her poised smile, looking out as if she already knew how to turn a room with a glance. Beside it sat a single rose in a cup, red as a wound. "Robert needs a queen," Renly said. "The realm needs to see stability. A wedding will calm the streets. It will bind Highgarden to us. It will make Tywin hesitate before he rides." Loras's brow furrowed. "Robert will not," he began. "He will," Renly cut in, and the certainty in his voice was born of desperation. "He must. He is wounded. He is furious. He needs the world to look at him and see a king who still commands love, not just fear. Marjorie can give him that." Loras's gaze narrowed. "And what do you gain?" he asked quietly. Renly's smile returned, thin. "A realm that doesn't collapse," he said. "A brother who doesn't drown in his own rage. And..." He hesitated, then forced the words out. A place where I matter." Loras's eyes softened just slightly. "You already matter to me," he said. Renly's breath caught, and for a moment the war outside the door seemed far away. Then the bells echoed again, and reality snapped back like a whip. "Speak to your father," Renly urged. "Tell him this is his chance. A Tyrell queen, a Tyrell hand perhaps. Gold and grain and roses in the Red Keep." Loras's jaw tightened. "My father will want guarantees," he said. "He will want Robert to name." "He can have honors," Renly said quickly. "He can have titles. He can have what he needs to feel grand." Loras studied Renly, then nodded once. "I will send a message," he said. "But Renly, Stannis will come." Renly's smile faded. "Yes," he said softly. "He will. And he will not like this," Loras added. Renly's eyes hardened. "Then Stannis can choke on it," he said, and the cruelty of the words surprised even him. He glanced away, jaw tight. "I won't let him take everything. Not again." Loras stepped closer, voice gentle. "This is dangerous," he said. Renly laughed, brittle. "Everything is dangerous now," he replied. "The only question is whether we choose the danger that keeps us alive." Outside the chamber, footsteps pounded down the corridor, and a shout echoed, "News from the gates, from the city, from some new fire lighting in the realm." Renly listened, then turned back to Loras with a smile that did not reach his eyes. "Send your raven," he said, "before the lions send theirs." That night, the Red Keep tried to bite itself. Ned was in Maegor's Holdfast when it began, drawn there by unease he could not name. The Holdfast was meant to be the safest place in the keep: thick doors, hidden passages, murder holes built by a paranoid king who had feared his own shadow. Ned had always disliked it. A fortress designed against its own people was a confession in stone. He walked the corridors with Stark guards at his back, torchlight flickering against black walls. The air felt wrong, too quiet, too watchful. Then he heard it. A scrape of boots where there should have been none, the faint clink of mail, the whisper of men trying to be silent. Ned's hand went to ice. From a side passage, a gold cloak captain emerged, the same thick-necked man with the scarred chin who had taken Ned's orders that morning. He moved with purpose now, not uncertainty, and he had armed men behind him. "My lord," the captain said, voice careful. Ned's eyes narrowed. "Where are you going?" he demanded. The captain hesitated for a heartbeat too long. Behind him, one of his men shifted, hand tightening on a spear. Ned stepped forward, Stark guards fanning slightly. "Answer," he said. The captain's gaze darted toward the locked door deeper in the corridor, the door that led to where the children were kept. A faint sound came from beyond it, a child's cry, muffled and frightened. Ned felt cold wash through him. "No," he said, voice low. "You are not." The captain swallowed. "Orders," he said, the word that had haunted the day. "From Lord Baelish." Ned's gaze snapped to the shadow behind the captain, and there Peter Baelish stood, leaning against the stone as if he had wandered in by accident. His smile was mild. "Lord Stark," Peter said. "How fortunate. I was just ensuring the king's interests." Ned's eyes burned. "Your interests," he said. Peter spread his hands. "Surely they align," he murmured. "The children are dangerous pieces. A false king is still a banner. A frightened city still loves a pretty lie." Ned's grip tightened on ice until the leather creaked. "Step aside," he commanded the captain. The captain looked torn. Fear of Ned, fear of Peter, fear of whoever had paid him last. Peter's gaze remained calm, and that calm was its own threat. "My lord," the captain said, voice rough. "The city's whispering. They say Robert will kill the children. They say the Lannisters will come. They say whatever they're paid to say," Ned snapped. "You will not touch them." Peter's smile thinned. "You are very protective," he observed, "of children who are not yours." "They are innocents," Ned said. Peter's eyes glinted. "Innocence does not stop a war," he replied. "Hostages do." Ned stepped forward, drawing ice halfway. The Valyrian steel caught torchlight with a cold sheen. The gold cloaks flinched back instinctively. Even the captain's bravado faltered. "Another step," Ned said, voice like winter, "and I will cut you down where you stand." Peter's brows rose as if impressed. "You would kill men in the king's own holdfast?" "I would kill traitors," Ned said, and he meant it. The captain's breath came fast. "Lord Baelish told us to move them," he said, desperation creeping into his voice. "To a safer place, to keep them from Robert." Ned's eyes narrowed. "And where is this safer place?" The captain hesitated again, and Ned saw it then. The plan wasn't safety. It was leverage. Move the children, hide them, then sell their location to whichever side paid most. A knife held against the realm's throat. Peter's voice came softly. "Lord Stark," he said, "you cannot hold every door. You cannot stand in every corridor. The realm is changing, and you cling to mercy as if it were armor." Ned took a step closer until Peter could see the anger in his eyes. "Mercy is not weakness," Ned said. "It is what makes us men." Peter smiled gently, as if Ned were a child saying something charming. "Then you will die a man," he murmured. Ned's sword rose another inch. "Get out!" he said to the gold cloaks, voice final. Now. For a tense heartbeat, no one moved. Then the captain exhaled and backed away, pride swallowed by fear. His men followed, retreating into the passage like rats into a hole. Peter Baelish remained, smiling. "You've made an enemy," he said softly. Ned's gaze held his. "I already had one," he replied. Peter's smile lingered. Then he turned and drifted away, footsteps silent. Ned watched him go, knowing the man would not forget this. Peter did not forgive slights. He collected them. Ned turned to the locked door where the children were kept and listened to the faint, frightened breathing beyond it. He felt the keep's stone around him like a throat tightening. The lions had struck in the Riverlands. Now the snakes were striking inside the Red Keep. 3 days later, the sea brought Stannis Baratheon like a blade sliding from a sheath. King's Landing heard the ships before it saw them. The harbor carried sounds strangely. The creak of ropes, the slap of oars, the low boom of horns as vessels announced their approach. Fishermen paused in their work, hands stilled on nets, heads turning. Dockworkers stopped shouting. Even the gulls seemed to will differently, uneasy in the air. Black sails appeared through the morning mist, dark shapes cutting across gray water. At the foremost ship's prow stood Stannis Baratheon, rigid as a carved figurehead, cloak snapping. Beside him stood Davos Seaworth, face drawn, eyes fixed on the city as if watching a beast that might lunge. From the Red Keep's tower window, Robert watched them arrive with a hard stare. His wound had not healed. It had only been forced into obedience by his will, and his face was thinner now, the flush of rage often replaced by a pallor that made him look more like his brother than he would have liked. Still, when he stood like a king determined to remain upright. Ned stood beside him, hands clasped behind his back. He watched the ships and thought of storms. Not the kind that brought rain, the kind that brought men. "He comes," Robert muttered. "He would," Ned replied. "He is your brother." Robert's mouth twisted. "A brother who has waited his whole life to tell me I've done it wrong," he said. Ned did not answer. Outside, the city shifted. Gold cloaks massed along the walls, spears bristling. Men at the harbor shouted orders. Boats bobbed like corks in the wake of the incoming fleet. The city's smoke rose and mingled with mist, making the air taste of soot and salt. In the days since Robert's proclamation, King's Landing had changed. The streets had grown sharper. People whispered names like prayers or curses. Tywin, Stannis, Stark. The markets remained open, but traders watched the gates more than their scales. Bread prices rose. Fights broke out over rumors. Bodies turned up in alleyways, throats cut, pockets emptied, messages written in bloodless silence. Varys's little birds sang. Peter Baelish's men smiled. And somewhere beneath it all, fear coiled like a snake. Ravens had come too, bad ones. The Riverlands burning. Small folk fleeing. Lords sending cautious replies that tasted of hesitation. Tywin's banners gathering like storm clouds. Robert had read those ravens with a grin that never reached his eyes. "Good," he had said each time, as if welcoming the proof of his own prophecy. Now Stannis' ships slid into the harbor, and the realm's fracture line widened. Robert turned from the window, jaw tight. "Bring him to me," he ordered. Ned nodded, though a knot tightened in his chest. Stannis would not come to soothe. He would come to judge. And Robert, wounded and proud, would not accept judgment easily. As Stannis' gangplank thudded onto the dock below and the city's roar rose to meet him, Ned felt the coming collision as if it were already shaking the stones beneath his feet. The lions had drawn blood in the Riverlands. The stag had drawn blood in the Red Keep. Now another stag arrived, colder and harder, and between them the realm waited, brittle as glass, wondering which blow would finally shatter it. The night came in hard and wet, as if the sky itself had been struck. Rain slid down the black stone of the Red Keep and ran in ropes from the gargoyles' mouths. Torches sputtered and hissed, throwing broken light over men's faces as they surged toward the outer gatehouse. The smell reached them first. Iron, Wet leather, horse sweat, and something darker that made a man's stomach tighten. Then the litter appeared, borne by 6 huntsmen and 2 guards whose arms shook under the weight. Robert Baratheon lay upon it like a felled oak hauled from a forest. The boar had found him, gored him deep, and yet the great stag had refused to die. Bandages crisscrossed his belly, already seeping through, and his chest rose and fell like bellows at a forge. His face was pale under the beard, but his eyes were open, blue and furious, fixed on the Red Keep as if it were an enemy he meant to take. Eddard Stark pushed through the press of bodies with the flat patience of a man walking into a storm he could not outrun. He kept his face still, but his thoughts were a tangle of ravens and blades. In the hours since the rider had come with the news, the city had not stopped moving. It had turned its gears faster, hungry for rumor, hungry for advantage. Cersei would be awake. Jaime would be awake. Littlefinger would be awake. Varys would be awake even if he did not sleep. Grand Maester Pycelle waddled forward, robes gathered in his fists, eyes wide as coins. "Your Grace, save your wheezing." Robert's voice was rough with pain and rage, yet it filled the gatehouse all the same. He tried to lift himself and hissed, teeth bared, "Get me inside, out, and send for my hammer." Ned heard the words and felt the air shift, as if someone had opened a door to a colder corridor. Robert's warhammer was not a thing to be fetched for comfort. It was what he reached for when he meant to end arguments. Barristan Selmy stepped close, his white cloak plastered to his shoulders by rain. "Sire, you must be carried to your chambers." "The wound! The wound can scream while I speak," Robert snarled. His gaze slid past Barristan to Ned, and for a heartbeat the rage turned to something else. A raw, bitter pain that did not come from the boar. "You, Stark, walk with me." Ned nodded once. He had meant to speak to Robert in the morning, when there were witnesses he could trust and walls to keep the city's ears away. But the morning was a hope men told themselves to sleep. The night had arrived with Robert alive, and that changed everything. As they carried Robert through the inner yard, servants scattered like mice. A kennel of hounds began to howl, uneasy with the scent of blood. Above, the Tower of the Hand loomed, its windows dark. Ned's home in this nest of stone and whispers. He looked up once and thought of Winterfell's quiet snows, and of how far away honor felt from this place. Varys appeared at the edge of torchlight, soft-footed and smiling as if this were a feast and not a calamity. "Your Grace," he murmured, hands spread in welcome. "How good it is to see you return to us." Robert's mouth twisted. "Spare me your silk, eunuch. If I die, I'll haunt you first." Varys inclined his head, unoffended, eyes like polished stones. "Then I shall endeavor to keep you among us, sire. The realm would be bereft." Ned did not look at Littlefinger, but he felt him, felt the man's presence like a hand at the small of his back. Peter Baelish stood near the stables beneath an awning, cloak thrown over one shoulder, watching with the mild interest of a gambler at a dice table. Their eyes met for the briefest moment. Littlefinger's smile was small, and it promised nothing good. Robert was taken through corridors that echoed with hurried footsteps. The Kingsguard cleared a path with the cold efficiency of men born to stand between blades and flesh. But the Red Keep was not a battlefield you could see. Its weapons were doors and words and waiting. When they reached Robert's chambers, the guards barred the doors. Barristan Selmy remained, along with Renly Baratheon, who had arrived pale-faced and damp-haired, eyes flicking over Robert's bandages like a man counting coins he feared he'd lost. Pycelle hovered with a bundle of herbs. Varys drifted in last like smoke. Robert's hand clenched in the bedclothes. "Out!" he growled at the maester. "Out, all of you save Stark and Selmy. Renly can stay. The rest can piss off." Pycelle sputtered. Varys's smile did not waver, but his eyes sharpened. Renly glanced to Ned as if searching for a shape to cling to. Ned drew a breath that tasted of candle wax and rain. The door closed, the lock slid home. The night pressed its ear to the stone. Robert turned his head, eyes burning. Well, what is it you dragged yourself to tell me before? Speak. Ned had rehearsed the words in his mind 100 times. On the road north, on the day he had taken the hand's chain, on the steps of the Great September. He had imagined Robert's laughter, Robert's denial, Robert's grief. He had not imagined Robert alive and bleeding in a bed that smelled faintly of old wine, demanding the truth like a man demanding steel. He spoke anyway because there was nothing else to do. "I came to King's Landing to serve you," Ned said, voice low. "And I came to protect your children." Renly's head lifted sharply. Robert barked a laugh that turned into a cough. "Protect them from what? From my brother's sour face? From my wife's sermons?" Ned reached to the table and touched the book he had brought, The Lineage of the Great Houses. "From lies, Robert." Robert's eyes narrowed. "You have always loved your solemn words. Get to the point." Ned felt the weight of it like a stone on his tongue. "Joffrey is not your son." The room went still. Even the candles seemed to pause, their flames steadying. Barristan Selmy's jaw tightened, the only sign he was not carved from marble. Robert blinked once. "What? Tommen and Myrcella are not your children either," Ned continued, forcing the words through his teeth like a man pushing a blade through leather. "They are not of your blood." Renly's mouth fell open. He took a step forward, then stopped, as if the floor had turned to ice. "That's Ned, that's—" "Silence," Robert said, and his voice was so cold Ned felt it on his skin. He stared at Ned with a predator's stillness. "Say it plain." Ned looked at Barristan Selmy first. The old knight's eyes held his, steady as a shield. Whatever horror lived in him, it would not sway his duty. Ned turned back to Robert. "Cersei has been unfaithful," Ned said. "For years. The children are Jaime's, not yours." For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then Robert's face changed, as if some great hand had struck him from within. The flush rose from his neck to his cheeks, a dark tide. His fingers clenched in the sheets until his knuckles whitened. He did not roar. He did not laugh. He simply breathed, long and harsh, and the sound was like a whetstone. Renly whispered, "Seven save us." Robert's gaze flicked to Renly and back. "You knew?" he demanded. Renly flinched. No. I suspected things. But not this. Not." Robert's laugh was ugly. "Of course. Everyone suspects. Everyone whispers. I am the last man in my own bed to know whose seed warms it." Ned moved to the proof because words were not enough in the city. "I found the record of Jon Arryn's investigation," he said. "He was reading this book." Ned slid it closer, open to the page. "Baratheon bastards. Robert, your blood shows black hair. Always. The children." He stopped himself from saying blonde. He let the silence carry it. Robert stared at the page as if it were written in blood. His lips peeled back from his teeth. "Jaime," he said, and the name was a curse. "Jaime Lannister, the pretty knight." Barristan's voice came like a bell. "Your Grace, if this is true." "It is true," Ned said, "because if he left even a crack, denial would pour through. And Jon Arryn died for learning it, the same as any man would." Robert's head snapped toward Ned. "You think they killed Jon Arryn?"
Ned nodded.
"I believe so." The bed creaked as Robert tried to sit. Pain carved his face, but rage held him upright for a moment. "Where is she?" he rasped. "Where is my wife?" Renly spoke quickly, fear making him sharp. "Sire, you should." Robert's eyes found him like a thrown spear. "Should what? Lie here and let them slit my throat? Let that lioness put another knife in my ribs?" He leaned closer to Ned, close enough that Ned could smell the sour edge of wine still in his breath. "Tell me true, Stark. Did she ever love me?" Ned's stomach turned. The question was too human, too small for the violence it sat beside. "No," he said, because lies were for courtiers. Robert's expression cracked, and for a moment Ned saw the boy who had been crowned in fire and shouting, who had thought a throne could heal a broken heart. Then the crack sealed with iron. "Bring her," Robert said, and his voice was not the voice of a man making a request. "Bring Jaime. Bring the children. Bring them all. Tonight." Barristan's eyes widened. "Your Grace. Tonight," Robert repeated. "Before the sun rises and the city grows teeth. Selmy, Renly, I want the Kingsguard. I want the Red Keep locked. I want the city watch under my command, not Peter Baelish's." His gaze cut to Ned. "Can you do that?" Ned felt the trap forming around them like jaws. "I can try," he said. Robert's hand shot out and seized Ned's forearm with surprising strength. "Do more than try," Robert growled. "If I die, the realm dies with me, and if I live, then lions will learn what it means to hunt a stag." The Red Keep had its own heartbeat. It lived in the footsteps of guards, the murmur behind doors, the scraping of quills in council chambers at hours meant for sleep. That night, the heartbeat quickened until it felt like panic. Ned left Robert's chambers as if he were walking away from a cliff edge. Barristan Selmy moved beside him, a white shadow in the torchlight, and Renly hurried at their heels with the restless energy of a man who wanted to run and could not. Behind them, Robert's order hung in the air like smoke. "Tonight." "Lord Stark," Barristan said softly as they turned a corner. "The accusation is grave." "It is true," Ned answered. Barristan's face did not change. "Truth is not always enough to keep blades from throats." "No," Ned said, "but it is all I have." Renly's voice came in a tight rush. "If this is known, if this becomes known, the city will tear itself apart. Cersei will not go quietly. Jaime is one man," Ned said. But he remembered Jaime's smile, remembered the ease with which the man wore a sword, as if it were part of his arm. One man with the Kingsguard and half the court in his pocket. Renly swallowed. "We should send for the city watch at once."
Ned nodded.
"Peter Baelish controls them." Renly grimaced, as if Ned had named a disease. "He can be convinced." Ned did not like the sound of that, but there was no time for dislike. "Then convince him," Ned said. "Now." They split in the corridor like men casting dice. Barristan went to rouse the Kingsguard, who were loyal to the cloak rather than the crown of a Lannister queen. Renly went to Littlefinger because he could smile where Ned could not, and because he had always understood the game better than the men who pretended it did not exist. Ned went to the Tower of the Hand to gather the few men he trusted, Jory Castle, as many Stark guards as he could pull from their posts without causing alarm. As he climbed the steps, the air grew colder. The tower's stones held the chill even in summer, and in winter they were like ice. At the top, Jory met him, hand on his sword, eyes alert. "My lord? We heard." "The king lives," Ned said, "but barely, and there is no time. Rouse the men." Quietly, Jory's gaze sharpened. "Against who?" Ned hesitated only a moment. "Against House Lannister." Jory's face went hard. "As you command." Below, in the belly of the keep, Peter Baelish was already moving. Ned found him in a corridor near the small council chamber, dressed as if for an evening stroll rather than a night of upheaval. Littlefinger's eyes flicked over Ned with feigned innocence. "Lord Stark," Peter said, smooth as oil, "you look as if you've seen a ghost." "I've seen the king," Ned said, "and he has orders." Peter's smile widened. "Does he? How refreshing. For a time I feared we were to be governed by maesters and women." Ned kept his voice flat. "The king commands the city watch to secure the Red Keep. No one enters. No one leaves. He commands you to see it done." Peter's brows rose. "Commands," he repeated, savoring the word. "Such a strong thing, command. One might almost think he remembers he is king." "He remembers," Ned said. Peter's gaze slid away to where a city watch captain lingered in the shadows, helmet under his arm. Ned saw the purse then, small, heavy, disappearing into the captain's hand. A transaction completed without a word. Peter returned his attention to Ned with a pleasant expression. "Of course," Peter said. "The city watch will do its duty. We are all loyal servants of the crown." Ned's mouth tightened. To the crown, he agreed. Not to you, not to gold, not to lions. Peter leaned closer, voice soft. Tell me, my lord, does the king's command include any particular lion? Ned's hand went to the hilt of his own sword, not drawing, but finding comfort in its presence. It includes treason, he said. Peter's eyes glittered. Ah, he murmured. Treason, such a flexible word in King's Landing, can mean anything, and so it means everything. Renly appeared then, breathless, cheeks flushed. His gaze darted from Ned to Peter. It's done, Renly said. The city watch will come. Peter spread his hands. I live to serve. Ned did not thank him. He turned away, feeling Varys's unseen eyes on his back. Somewhere behind a curtain, the eunuch would be listening, weighing, deciding which secrets to feed to which mouths. Ned could not stop that. He could only move faster than the whispers. In the yard, gold cloaks began to appear in small numbers, as if by accident. 2 at a gate, 3 at a corridor, 5 at the stairwell to Maegor's Holdfast. Their captain, a thick-necked man with a scar across his chin, waited for Ned with a rigid posture and eyes that did not meet his. My lord, the captain said. Orders. Ned held Robert's authority like a shield. The king commands you, Ned said. Lock down the Red Keep. Disarm any Lannister guards you find. No blood unless they resist. The captain's mouth twitched. As the king commands. Ned watched him go and wondered which command would win if the king's voice and Cersei's gold spoke at once. The night was turning into a knife fight, and Ned had stepped into it with bare hands. Jaime Lannister was found where men like him always went when the world felt uncertain, near Steel. The armory smelled of oil and iron. Racks of swords and spears lined the walls, gleaming faintly in torchlight. Jaime stood with his back half-turned, white cloak thrown loose, as if it were a thing he wore only because custom demanded it. He held a sword in his hand, not drawing it, simply weighing it, feeling the balance as though he were testing the truth of it. Barristan Selmy entered with a quiet authority that needed no escort, though 2 other white cloaks followed him. Ser Mandon Moore's face was a blank mask. Ser Ares Oakheart's hand rested near his hilt, cautious. Jaime smiled when he saw them. Ser Barristan, he said lightly. Couldn't sleep either? Barristan did not smile back. The king has returned. Jaime's brows lifted. So I've heard. The castle is crawling with gold cloaks like ants in a crumb pile. Very strange. The king has orders, Barristan said. You will come with us. Jaime's smile thinned. To see the king? Gladly, though I wonder why he does not send for me himself. He has always enjoyed my company. His green eyes flicked to the other Kingsguard, measuring. Is this a courtesy call? Or have I offended you somehow? You have offended the king, Barristan said, and the words fell like stones. Jaime's face did not change. His hand shifted, casual, almost lazy, but Barristan saw it. He stepped closer, making it clear without threat that he would not be slow. Jaime's voice remained mild. If I have offended him, I will apologize. That is what men do when they wish to keep their heads. Your head is not yours to bargain with, Barristan replied. Come. Now. For a heartbeat, Jaime's eyes hardened. Something cold lived there, a thing that had nothing to do with charm and everything to do with survival. He glanced toward the door, as if calculating distances, and Ned Stark's warning echoed in Barristan's mind. Jaime is one man. One man with a sword can still change the world if he is quick enough. Jaime set the sword back on its rack. Very well, he said, and his voice was almost bored. Lead on. They took him through corridors where gold cloaks stood with spears, trying to look like they belonged in a castle of kings. Jaime's gaze slid over them like a knife. He did not speak, but Barristan could feel his mind moving. As they passed the hall outside Maegor's Holdfast, Jaime stopped. The movement was small, but it pulled the others up short. He turned his head toward the thick iron door, guarded by 4 men and a Kingsguard Ned had posted there. My sister is in there, Jaime said softly. Barristan did not answer. Jaime's eyes narrowed. What has happened? Barristan's face was carved from duty. The king requires your presence. Jaime's jaw tightened, the first true crack in the polished mask. If you harm her, no one has harmed anyone yet, Barristan said. Yet, the word did not need to be spoken. Jaime's laugh was sharp. Yet, he echoed as if he had tasted it. You're a good man, Ser Barristan, but good men often arrive too late. Not tonight, Barristan said. Jaime looked at the guards, at the spears, at the locked doors. He looked at the castle he had thought he knew, and in that moment Barristan saw it. Jaime Lannister was not afraid of dying. He was afraid of losing control. They marched him on. Ned Stark was elsewhere, putting men in place like stones in a wall. In the nursery wing, Sandor Clegane stood like a black tower beside Prince Joffrey's door, his scarred face unreadable. Ned approached with 2 Stark guards and 3 gold cloaks, and the hound's eyes followed him with a predator's patience. Lord Stark, Sandor said, voice low, this is the prince's room. Not tonight, Ned replied. Joffrey's voice came from within, petulant and sharp. Mother, is that you? Open the door. Ned's hand clenched. The boy's voice sounded too much like Cersei's when she was angry. Sandor's lips curled, not quite a smile. He won't like this. The king has returned, Ned said. Sandor's eyes flickered. So I heard. The king commands the royal children to remain in their chambers, Ned said. Under guard. Sandor's gaze held Ned's for a long moment. And if the queen commands otherwise? Ned did not blink. Then tonight you choose whose command you obey. The hound's face twitched, as if an old wound had ached. I obey the man who keeps me fed, he said finally. That's usually the queen.
Ned stepped closer.
And if the king feeds you tomorrow? Sandor's eyes narrowed. Tomorrow's a long way off. But he did not move when the gold cloaks took positions. He did not draw his sword. He simply stood, listening to Joffrey's growing fury behind the door, and Ned took that as the smallest mercy the night would grant. Cersei Lannister did not sleep easily even on her best nights. On this one, she did not sleep at all. She stood in her chambers with her hair unbound, a golden river down her back, dressed in a simple white shift that made her look more girl than queen until you saw her eyes. The chamber was warm with braziers, scented faintly with rose oil, yet the air felt stale, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. When the knock came, it was not the soft knock of a handmaiden. It was the solid rap of authority. Cersei's hand froze over a comb. She did not turn at once. She listened, counting the beats. Then she said, "Enter." As if she had invited the interruption. The door opened and a gold cloak captain stepped in with 2 men behind him. He looked uncomfortable in such a room, his boots leaving wet prints on the carpets. He bowed awkwardly. "Your Grace," he said. Cersei's smile was a blade with a jeweled hilt. "You have my chambers confused with a tavern, Captain." "Where is the Kingsguard?" The man swallowed. "The king has returned, Your Grace." Cersei's fingers tightened on the comb until it threatened to snap. "So I hear. And the king commands," the captain began. "The king commands," Cersei repeated, savoring the words with mockery. "How delightful. He remembers he is king. Tell me, Captain, did he remember to wash the boar from his beard before he returned to my city?" The captain's cheeks reddened. "Your Grace, the king commands that you come to the throne room. Now." Cersei's smile vanished. The room cooled by a degree. "Now?" she echoed. "Yes," the captain said, and his voice grew firmer. "And you are to be escorted." Cersei set down the comb with care. "Escorted by whom?" she asked softly. The captain hesitated, and in that hesitation Cersei saw the truth. This was not her city anymore, not for this night. Someone had moved pieces on the board while she was still holding the old rules. She turned toward the door. In the corridor, Ser Island Payne stood waiting, mute and monstrous with his great sword held like a priest's staff. Cersei's stomach tightened. Pain was the king's creature, and that meant the king meant blood. "Where is my brother?" she demanded. The captain's eyes slid away. "Sir Jaime Lannister has been summoned as well." Cersei's mind raced. Robert alive. Robert moved swiftly. Robert angry enough to do what he should have done long ago. She thought of Ned Stark, of his stubborn honor and his inconvenient truths. She thought of Varys, who always knew more than he said. She thought of Peter Baelish, who would sell anyone if it bought him another step up a ladder. Most of all, she thought of Robert's face when he learned that everything he believed about himself, his victories, his bed, his heirs, had been a lie. She lifted her chin. "Very well," she said. "If the king calls, I will answer." As she stepped into the corridor, one of the gold cloaks reached to take her arm as if she were a prisoner. Cersei's eyes snapped to him and he flinched, hand dropping as if burned. "Do not touch me," she said. "I am the queen." The captain cleared his throat. "You are to come peacefully, your grace." Cersei's laugh was soft and humorless. "Peacefully?" she murmured. "How many men have died in the name of peace?" They walked through the keep, through corridors where servants pressed themselves to walls, eyes wide. Cersei watched them watching her. Fear traveled faster than ravens. By dawn, the city would be choking on rumor. As they passed a window slit, she glimpsed the yard below. Gold cloaks everywhere.
Stark guards in grey.
White cloaks moving like ghosts. The keep had been taken without a battle, and that was the most frightening thing of all. In the distance, a boy's voice screamed. Joffrey, furious, demanding, not understanding why doors remained closed to him. Cersei's nails dug into her palms. If Robert knew, if Robert had been told, she had always believed she could talk her way out of anything, because men were simple. Men wanted flattery, wanted softness, wanted to believe their own strength was enough. Robert wanted to believe he was a king, and she had let him pretend. Tonight, she feared he no longer wished to pretend. The throne room had seen weddings and coronations, laughter and treason, and it had drunk enough blood to stain even stone. Yet it had never seen Robert Baratheon like this. He sat on the Iron Throne not as a man lounging after victory, but as a beast pinned in a trap, muscles coiled around pain. Bandages hid beneath his tunic, but the stiffness of his posture betrayed the wound. His face was pale, but his eyes burned, bright as forge fire. His warhammer leaned against the steps, its head dark and heavy. The sight of it made even the boldest men hold their tongues. Ned stood below, ice at his side like a promise he did not want to keep. Barristan Selmy stood near the throne, white cloak spilling over the black steps like snow. Renly hovered, jaw clenched, hands restless. Gold cloaks lined the walls, spears upright, their faces set in unfamiliar seriousness. In the shadows, Peter Baelish watched as if he were attending a play he had paid for. When Jaime Lannister was brought in, he walked with his head high, as if this were a procession and not an arrest. 2 Kingsguard flanked him. His eyes searched the room, found Cersei's absence, and sharpened. He offered Robert a smile that did not reach his eyes. "Your Grace," Jaime said, "you look like you've had a hard hunt." Robert's mouth twitched, not quite a smile. "Bring her," he said. The doors opened again, and Cersei Lannister entered between gold cloaks, her hair loose, her expression carved from pride. She did not look at Ned at first. She looked at Robert, and for a heartbeat something almost like tenderness flickered there. An old habit, a tool reaching for its familiar place. "My king," Cersei said, voice smooth, "you should be in bed." Robert's laugh was a harsh bark that turned into a cough. He spat blood onto the black steps and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand as if it were nothing. "And you should be honest," he said. "We do not always get what we should." Cersei's eyes narrowed. "What is this?" she asked, though she already knew. Robert leaned forward, the Iron Throne spikes framing him like teeth. "Eddard Stark tells me your children are not mine." Silence fell like a blade. Jaime's smile vanished. Cersei's face did not change at once. She held herself still, measuring. Then she laughed, light, incredulous. as if Robert had made a joke in poor taste. "Lord Stark," Cersei said, turning at last. "What poison have you poured in my husband's ear?" Ned's voice was steady. "No poison, only truth." Cersei's gaze snapped back to Robert, and now the tenderness was gone. "This is madness," she said. "You are wounded. You are delirious. You are letting a northerner who knows nothing of this city." "I know enough," Robert said, and his voice was quiet now, which was worse. "I know you've been fucking your brother." The word hung in the hall, crude and undeniable. A murmur rippled through the guards, stifled quickly. Renly's face went pale. Peter Baelish's eyes gleamed. Cersei's lips parted, and for the first time, her control slipped. Not much, only a fraction, but Robert saw it. He savored it. Jaime took a step forward. "Careful," he said, voice suddenly hard. "You speak to the Queen." Robert's eyes cut to him. "And you," Robert said softly, "speak to your king." Jaime's jaw tightened. His hands flexed as if remembering a sword. Barristan Selmy's voice rang out, clear as steel. "Sir Jaime Lannister, you are commanded to stand down." Jaime laughed. "Sharp. Commanded?" He echoed, eyes flicking to Peter, to the gold cloaks, to the Stark guards. "By whom? A dying king? A northern lord?" Robert's hand reached for the warhammer. The movement was slow, deliberate, and it made every man in the room stiffen. "By me," Robert said. Cersei's eyes flicked to the hammer, then back to Robert's face. Something like calculation returned. "Robert," she said, softer now, using his name like a hand on his arm. "Listen to me. Whatever you think, you know, whatever lies." "No lies," Robert said. He reached to the table beside the throne and shoved the book toward her. It slid across the stone and stopped at her feet. "Read if you can." Cersei stared at the book as if it were filth. "You would shame your own children in front of your court?" she demanded. "You would destroy your house because you are angry?" "My house," Robert repeated. His voice rose and pain made it ragged. "My house is a whore's joke because of you. My line is a lie. You've stolen my crown with your cunt and your brother's seed." Renly flinched as if struck. Ned's stomach turned, not at the words, but at the truth beneath them. Robert had been wounded long before the boar. Cersei's face hardened into stone. "Then kill me," she said, and there was a terrible honesty in it. "If you are the man you pretend to be, kill me and be done." Robert stared at her, breathing hard. His hand tightened on the hammer's haft. Ned took a step forward. "Robert!" Robert's head snapped toward Ned. "Do not," he warned. "Not now." Ned stopped. He understood then that this was not only justice in Robert's mind. It was reclaiming himself, clawing back something he felt had been stolen. A king could not be laughed at and remain a king. Robert turned back to Cersei. "Confess," he said. Cersei's eyes flashed. "No." Jaime's voice came again, low. "Cersei." Silence. Cersei hissed without looking at him, and that, more than any confession, told the room everything it needed. Jaime's face went white. Robert's mouth curled. "There," he said softly. "There it is." He rose from the throne, and the movement made him sway. Barristan moved instinctively, but Robert shook him off with a glare. He stepped down, one slow step at a time, hammer in hand. The hall held its breath. Even the torches seemed to burn quieter. "By the laws of the realm," Robert said, voice booming despite his injury, "Cersei of House Lannister is guilty of treason. Jaime of House Lannister is guilty of treason. And they have conspired to defraud the crown, to place false heirs upon my throne, to murder my hand, Jon Arryn." Cersei's eyes widened at that, just a fraction. Robert saw it and smiled, savage. "And to make a fool of their king." He lifted the hammer. Ned's heart hammered harder than Robert's weapon ever could. The hammer did not fall where Ned expected. Robert's arm came down in a brutal arc, but at the last instant he shifted, and the head of the weapon struck the black stone floor beside Cersei's feet. The impact cracked through the hall like thunder. Dust and stone chips flew. Cersei stumbled back, startled despite herself. Her hand lifted instinctively, as if she could ward off iron with flesh. Robert leaned on the hammer for a moment, breathing hard, pain cutting through him like a blade. His knuckles were white around the haft. He looked up at Cersei through a veil of rage and sweat. "Confess," he said again, quieter now, "or I swear by the gods I'll crush your skull and feel nothing but relief." Cersei's chest rose and fell. Her gaze darted, calculating, searching for an ally in the room. She found none she could count on. The gold cloaks watched her with uneasy eyes. The Kingsguard did not move. Renly looked sick. Peter Baelish looked entertained. Varys, somewhere in the shadows, would be recording every breath. Cersei's mouth twisted. "You want a confession?" she said, voice trembling not with fear but with fury. "Fine. Yes, I lay with my brother, because you were drunk, because you were cruel, because you were never mine. You were a king in name and a boar in bed." A ripple went through the hall, a collective intake of breath. Ned's eyes closed for a heartbeat. He had wanted truth. He had not wanted this ugliness bared in public like entrails. Robert's face twisted with something like pain, and for a moment his rage faltered. Then it returned twice as fierce. "And the children?" he demanded. Cersei's gaze turned defiant. "They are mine," she said. "They are my blood. They are the only thing I ever made that mattered." Robert's laugh was bitter. "Not mine," he said. He turned his gaze to Jaime. "And you, did you think yourself clever? Bedding my queen beneath my roof?" Jaime's face was stripped of charm now, left raw. He strained against the Kingsguard's grip. "They are my children," he said, and there was no denial in him, only a fierce, doomed pride. "And I would do it again." Barristan's eyes narrowed, sadness flickering there, brief as a candle's last flame. "Seven save you," he murmured. Robert lifted the hammer again. This time, Ned moved without thinking. He stepped forward, his voice cutting through the hall. "Robert, wait." Robert's head snapped toward him. "You dare," Robert growled. "You dare tell me to wait while they laugh at me?" Ned forced himself to hold Robert's gaze. "If you strike her down here," he said, "you will begin a war tonight." Robert's mouth curled. "The war began years ago," he spat. "They just hid it under silk." "Then do not give them a martyr," Ned said. He could feel every eye in the hall on him, could feel Peter Baelish's amused interest, could feel Varys's attention sharpening. "Let the realm see justice, not rage." Robert's eyes burned. "This is justice. It can still be justice," Ned said, voice steady despite the fear in his chest. "But do it as king, not as a wounded man with a hammer." For a heartbeat, Robert hesitated. Ned saw the battle in him, rage and pride fighting with the part of him that still understood what a crown demanded. Then Robert's mouth tightened. He turned his head slightly. "Ser Island," he called. The mute executioner stepped forward, great sword gleaming. Cersei's chin lifted. She refused to beg. But Ned saw the fear then, just under her defiance. The fear of dying, and the fear of leaving her children behind in the hands of men who might not show mercy. Jaime's voice broke. "No," he said, and it was the first time the Golden Knight sounded like any other man. Robert's voice was iron. "By the authority of the Iron Throne," he said, "I sentence Cersei Lannister to death." The hall seemed to tilt. Ned's stomach lurched. He had known it would come to this, and still the finality of it felt like a door slamming shut on the last chance for peace. Ser Island lifted his sword. Cersei looked at Robert, eyes blazing. "I will haunt you," she said. Robert leaned on the hammer, face hard. "Good," he rasped. "I'll have company." The sword fell. Ned did not watch the blade meet flesh. He watched Robert's face instead, because that was where the realm would change. Robert did not flinch. He did not smile. He simply stared, and something in him, something old and broken, seemed to settle into place like a stone laid in a grave. Jaime's scream tore through the hall like a wounded animal's. The sound that followed was not cheers. It was not silence either. It was the strange, heavy hush of men realizing they have stepped into a different world and cannot step back. Jaime Lannister collapsed to his knees as if the floor had been pulled from under him. The Kingsguard holding him tightened their grip, but it hardly mattered. His strength had gone somewhere else, into grief, into fury, into a madness that made his breath come in harsh, broken pulls. Robert stood over him, swaying slightly, the warhammer planted like a stake in the stone. Blood had flecked his boots. His face was pale, but his eyes were clear in a terrible way, as if he had finally wiped fog from a mirror. Jaime's voice came out raw. You. He could not find the words, because there were no words that could stitch this back together. Robert looked down at him with contempt. Get up, Robert said. Do not grovel. Groveling is for men with shame. Jaime's head snapped up, eyes wild. Shame? He spat, and the word tasted like poison. You speak of shame? You will not speak at all, Robert said, and his voice was cold enough to freeze breath. He turned slightly, calling to Barristan. Strip him of that cloak. Barristan Selmy hesitated for the first time that night. The cloak was sacred. It was meant to outlast kings. But the king's command was the king's command. Your Grace, Barristan said carefully. The Kingsguard is mine, Robert snapped, and I will not have a whoremonger wearing white. Jaime laughed, high and broken. Whoremonger, he echoed. That's rich, coming from you. Robert's face darkened. He lifted the hammer a few inches, and Jaime's laughter died. Ned took a step forward again, but Barristan's hand lifted slightly, an unspoken warning. Not now, not here. The king's rage was a wildfire spark. Touch it wrong and everything burns. Renly spoke, voice tight. Robert, he said, and there was pleading in it. The children. Robert's gaze flicked toward Renly, and for a moment Ned feared he would order their deaths too, right there, with the same blunt finality. Robert's mouth tightened. They stay locked, Robert said. They are not mine, but they are innocent enough of this. The words tasted bitter in his mouth. For now, Cersei had said she would haunt him. Robert looked as if he already felt the weight of that haunting, and was daring it to crush him. Jaime's breathing was ragged. He looked toward where Cersei had stood moments before, as if his eyes could undo time. Then he turned his gaze back to Robert, hatred condensing into something sharp. I killed a king once, Jaime said softly. A ripple went through the room, small and deadly. The Kingsguard tightened around him. Robert's eyes narrowed. And you'll not do it again. Jaime's mouth twisted. You think this makes you strong? He hissed. You think the realm will love you for slaughtering a queen in the night? I do not need love, Robert said. I need obedience. Jaime's smile was a broken thing. Then you will get war. Robert leaned closer, wincing as pain lanced through him. I've had war before, he murmured. I miss it. Ned's hand tightened on ice until his knuckles ached. He wanted to speak, to remind Robert of what war did, of the bodies it piled, of the children it left hungry and cold. But Robert was beyond reminders now. He was a man reclaiming a throne with blood because he could imagine no other way. Barristan's voice came again, gentle as a prayer. Sire, Tywin Lannister. Robert's head snapped up. Tywin, he repeated, and his mouth curled into a savage grin. Yes, Tywin will hear. Tywin will come. And when he does, I'll show him what happens when lions bite a king. He straightened as much as his wound allowed. Take Jaime Lannister, Robert ordered. Chain him. Throw him in a cell deep enough that he forgets what the sun looks like. Jaime struggled then, rage surging back. You can't, he began. Robert's hammer rose and Jaime stopped, breath-catching. Ned watched as the Kingsguard dragged Jaime away, his white cloak slipping from his shoulders like a skin he could no longer wear. Jaime's eyes met Ned's for a heartbeat, wild, pleading, furious. and Ned felt a twist of pity he did not want. In the shadows, Varys watched without expression. If he felt anything, he hid it well. That was his gift, and it was why Ned feared him more than any man with a sword. As Jaime was hauled from the hall, Robert's voice boomed again. "Bring the small council," he commanded. "Bring the High Septon if he will crawl from his bed. Bring witnesses. Before dawn, the realm will know its king still lives." Ned's stomach sank. Before dawn, the words were a bell tolling. Whatever hope remained of quiet resolution died with the night. They came like men summoned to judgment. Peter Baelish arrived first, because Peter Baelish always arrived first when power shifted. He wore a fresh doublet, hair neatly combed, as if he had been awake and ready all along. Varys drifted in next, soft as a whisper, eyes bright with curiosity. Grand Maester Pycelle came last, panting, face mottled with fear, clutching his chain as if it could protect him. They gathered before the Iron Throne, where Robert sat again, a mountain of wounded flesh and furious will. The royal seal lay beside him, its wax and metal waiting. On the stone floor below, a blood-stained white cloak lay crumpled, an accusation without words. Pycelle stared at it, lips trembling. "Your Grace," he began. This is most irregular." Robert's gaze cut him short. "Irregular," Robert repeated. "So is cuckolding your king." Pycelle swallowed, eyes darting to Ned, to Varys, to Peter as if searching for a way out. There was none. Varys spoke softly, voice careful. "Sire, perhaps we might consider the manner in which this is presented to the realm. The people can be excitable." Robert leaned forward. "The people will be told the truth," he said. "For once." Peter Baelish's smile was small. "Truth is a sharp thing, Your Grace," he murmured. "It cuts the hand that holds it as well as the throat it's meant for." Robert snorted. "You'd know." Ned stood stiffly, feeling like a man in a room where the air had turned to smoke. He had wanted Robert to act as king, and Robert had. In the worst way. Now Ned had to keep the realm from tearing itself apart in the aftermath. Robert lifted the book again, the pages already dog-eared from being shoved at unwilling eyes. "Jon Arryn discovered this," Robert said, voice ringing. "And he died for it. Eddard Stark has brought me the proof. House Lannister has defrauded the crown, murdered my hand, and sought to place false heirs upon my throne." Pycelle's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Your Grace, Lady Cersei, is dead," Robert said, and he said it with a flat finality that made Pycelle flinch as if slapped. Renly's face tightened. He looked like a man trying not to vomit. "Robert," he said quietly, "we must be." Robert lifted a hand. "Enough." Ned spoke then, because if he did not, others would fill the silence with poison. "The king will issue a proclamation," Ned said, voice steady. "The royal children are to remain under guard. No harm is to come to them. The realm must see that this is justice, not cruelty." Robert's eyes flicked to Ned. For a heartbeat, anger flared. He did not like being told what mercy to show. Then his gaze softened, just slightly, as if he remembered Winterfell's snow and a friend who had never lied to him. "Very well," Robert said, and the concession cost him. "They live. For now, they will be kept. They will not be crowned." Pycelle sagged with relief that lasted only a moment before Robert's gaze snapped back to him. "As for those who aided the Lannisters," Robert said, voice growing colder, "those who kept their secrets, those who fed them information." Pycelle's face went pale as milk. Varys's eyes did not change, but Ned felt the subtle tightening in him, like a man listening for the snap of a bowstring. Peter Baelish leaned forward slightly, interest keen. This was his terrain. Fear and favor, punishment and reward. Robert's finger pointed like a spear. "Grand Maester Pycelle," Robert said, "you will tell me everything you know about Jon Arryn's death. You will tell me who came to you, what was asked of you, what was given. If you lie, I will have your chain wrapped around your throat." Pycelle's mouth worked soundlessly. Then he fell to his knees with a soft thud. "Your Grace," he croaked. I only served." "You served the lions," Robert snarled. "You served gold." Ned's stomach tightened. Pycelle was a weak man, but weakness in a place like this was its own kind of crime. Still, Ned could not help thinking, if Robert turned his fury on everyone who had ever bent to Lannister power, there would be no one left standing. Varys spoke softly. "Sire, it may be wise to secure the city as well. There will be unrest." Robert's laugh was harsh. "Let them be restless," he said. "Let them know a king's wrath." Ned stepped forward. "The city watch is in place," he said. "But we must send ravens at once, to Casterly Rock, to Winterfell, to Dragonstone. Tywin will respond." At the mention of Tywin, the room tightened. Even Peter's smile faltered, just a hair. Tywin Lannister was a shadow that reached across the realm. Killing Cersei and taking Jaime was like striking at that shadow with a torch. The shadow would move. Robert's eyes gleamed. "Good," he said. "Let him respond. Let him come." He took the royal seal and pressed it into wax, stamping his will into the world. Each thud of the seal was a drumbeat toward war. Outside, the first gray light of dawn began to seep through the high windows, thin and cold. The night had not ended. It had simply changed its color. Dawn came like a reluctant confession. King's Landing woke beneath a sky the color of bruised steel. Smoke rose from chimneys in lazy spirals, and somewhere far below, a woman shouted at a child. A cart creaked over stones. A dog barked and was answered by another. Life continued because life always continued, even when the world had shifted underfoot. The city did not yet know what had happened in the throne room, but it would. The news was already running through corridors, carried by servants with wide eyes and guards who could not keep their mouths shut. Secrets did not survive in a place built on whispering. Ned Stark stood on a balcony above the yard, his cloak snapping in the wind. He watched ravens lift from the maester's tower, black specks vanishing into the gray. Each raven was a blade thrown across the realm. Each carried a message that would reshape lives far away from the city's stink and stone. Behind him, through an open doorway, he could see Robert being helped to his feet by Barristan Selmy. The king looked older than he had the day before, as if the night had taken years from him along with blood. His hand still rested on his warhammer, as if he feared letting go of it would make everything he had done feel unreal. Renly had vanished into the keep, face pale, likely already thinking of alliances and marriages and the Reach. Varys would be somewhere quiet, sending his own messages through his own hidden channels. Peter Baelish would be smiling to himself, counting the new shape of the game. Jaime Lannister sat in a cell beneath the keep, and 3 children sat behind locked doors, hearing the city's change in the unfamiliar weight of silence. Ned's breath fogged faintly in the cold morning air. He thought of Winterfell, of Bran's laugh, of Arya's fierce eyes, of Sansa's dreams of southern songs. He thought of Jon Snow, and the old promise he carried like a stone in his chest. He thought of Jon Arryn, dead for seeking the truth. And he thought of Cersei's blood on the stone, and how quickly justice had become something uglier. Robert had done what Ned had never been able to force him to do: act decisively. Yet Ned could not shake the feeling that Robert's decisiveness was a sword swung in a dark room, cutting not only the intended target but anything close enough to bleed. He heard Robert's voice behind him, rough with pain. "Stark." Ned turned. Robert's eyes were fixed on the city below, as if he could already see Tywin's banners on the horizon. "They will hate me," Robert said, not asking, simply stating. "Some will," Ned replied. "Some will fear you. Some will cheer." Robert's mouth twisted. "I don't care," he rasped, but Ned heard the lie in it. Robert had always cared too much. It was why Cersei's betrayal cut deeper than any boar's tusk. "I want them to remember I am king." "They will remember," Ned said, because it was true. The realm would remember this night as long as it told stories. Robert's gaze slid to Ned, sharp. "Will you stand with me?" Ned felt the question like weight on his shoulders. He thought of honor, of duty, of the simple oaths spoken in clean, cold air. He thought of the children behind locked doors, and of the war marching toward them from the west. He thought of what it meant when a king chose blood, and how hard it was to guide blood once it had spilled. "I am your hand," Ned said. "I will stand with you." Robert nodded once, satisfied, then grimaced as pain struck him. Barristan steadied him. Robert's hand tightened on the hammer anyway, refusing to let weakness show. Ned returned his gaze to the city. Somewhere out there, in a castle carved from stone and lion pride, Tywin Lannister would soon open a raven's message and read that his daughter was dead and his son was chained. Ned could almost feel the old lord's response like thunder in the distance. The wind carried the faint sound of bells beginning to ring. Morning prayers, market calls, the ordinary music of a city that did not yet understand how extraordinary its day had become. Ned Stark stood above it all, feeling the first cold breath of war rise from the horizon, and he understood with a clarity that made his chest ache. The hardest part of telling the truth was not speaking it. It was living in what came after.